Hey, I've tried to record this a couple times, so hopefully this time it's not bad. Hopefully I don't totally fumble it. This video is talking about The Space Adventure by Collin Eaton. It's the first issue, or I have the first issue, which is Clutching Godhood Part 1. There are 2 issues out, but the other is on Collin's Patreon. I don't use Patreon, but I will link to it. Alright, let's get into it. This is probably going to be a pretty short video, but yeah, let's go. So The Space Adventure follows Osseous, or Osseous? Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. He's a skeleton dude, like a skeleton fighter, off to kill some demigods in the name of restoring his humanity. And the first issue follows as he carves his way through a castle protected by imps and a fire monster as he goes on to try to kill Borgra the All-Knowing, a god or a demigod that he thinks he can kill in order to try to regain his humanity. One thing that I think is worth pointing out is that the story isn't overly explained or dropped directly into the main action of the story, with the expectation being that you will pick it up as it goes along. I kind of like that. It definitely adds an air of mystery to who this guy is and what he's doing there. Overall, text is kept pretty trim and minimal, serving their purpose without taking up a lot of space on the page, which I personally really like because I really like the art of the comic. It would have been a shame to cover it up. I think the creator does a really good job, both with the page layout and the art itself, as well as what text we do see or speech bubbles that we do see, to create a concise narrative and a good story within the pages of the first issue, especially for comics for an older demographic or an adult demographic. I don't really like when my hand is being held the whole time I'm reading it. I actually met Collin at Jetpack Comics in Rochester, New Hampshire, like a year or 2 ago. I think it was 2 years ago. I don't think it was last year. They do a free comic book day every year, or at least they used to. But I've been going to Jetpack Comics for as long as I can remember for free comic book day. And one of my favorite parts is that they have local artists selling both like their indie comics and stuff, and also advertising for other conventions in the area, or tabling for different causes or things like that. I've met some really great people through conventions, and I've had the opportunity to kind of meet my heroes, I guess. Yeah, that's not the point. I'm just gushing about free comic book day. You should go if you can. I usually remember it by it taking place around May the 4th for Star Wars Day. Anyway, I promise that's not what this video is about. This was not a bait and switch. To circle back to the point of the video, I got the chance to meet the creator and talk to him for a bit, and I really like the style of the comic. Just to reiterate, think the pacing and the panel layout itself is great. It has a lot of action, but it's never messy. You can always tell what's going on. Most of or all of the shadows and definition for the pages are done with hash marks, which is one of my favorite ways to kind of stylize shading. And the style itself, if I had to compare it to another artist, I would say is very Mignola from Hellboy-esque. I don't talk a lot about superheroes on my channel. There's a lot of people on YouTube who do and talk about them better than me, but I do read superhero comics, and Hellboy has always been one of my interests. So I'm a sucker for any comic or any style that kind of reminds me of that, and I think he does. The writing itself is strong enough. What's there are written in a distinct way for the way that they speak and the way that they act. I'm not quite sure if the universe that this takes place in is more of a fantasy setting or a kind of sci-fi mix. We do see splash art or like a pinup page of the main character with a gun, so I don't know. But it definitely is a unique location with fantastical elements, at least in the first issue. And yeah, I guess that's all I have to say. This was a sporadic video, and I apologize. Collin does have a Twitter and a Patreon, and I will link to both below. And yeah, if you think you're interested in it, it's $5 for the tier on Patreon to read the comics. I don't really know what that means. I don't use Patreon. Someday I'm gonna have to. I feel like I talk about it a lot on this channel to never use it. Or if you're in New England, or I guess more specifically New Hampshire, Collin posted about it being for sale at Jetpack Comics, so you could always get in touch with them. Not to continuously name drop that store. Yeah, I like them. I've never had a bad experience there. So, I don't know, not sponsored, I guess. I feel like I don't need to say that. That's obvious. But anyways, this video wasn't scripted, so I hope you've enjoyed listening to me more or less just rattle off about stuff. I had a little bit of time to record in between things going on, and the house is actually quiet, so I wanted to seize the opportunity because I can talk at an actual volume and you guys can hear my real voice instead of that weird half whisper that I do every other video. Anyways, have a good night, and thanks for checking out the video, and hopefully I will have something more substantial soon. Have a good night, YouTube. I'll see you soon.